Hello everyone, welcome back to the Tuppercast. Once again, we're really glad to have you back. This week is going to be just another one of those unscripted, chill, talking into the mic episodes, just because this is going to be touching on visualization, which is a highly subjective topic. It's one of those things that is just inherently going to be a way different experience for some people than others. Some may find it to be really easy to pick up and start doing it and become proficient at it almost immediately. For some other people, it may be really hard, even though they really want to start seeing their Tulpa. So if you actually want a guide or a tutorial to assist you on developing the skill while creating your own Tulpa, then I highly suggest taking a look at some of the resources that are available as far as actual guides. I don't know if this channel is old enough to leave links in the description yet, but if not, then we'll leave it in a pinned comment down below, or just the term that you should go and search for yourself, which is Tulpanomicon. We found it to be a great site that has a ton of great information and guides on visualization, as well as many other Tulpa skills that are involved in the process of developing one. So if you like reading, then give them a checking out. If you like audible content, you just like me sitting here talking, for example, then check out Longbow's Tulpamancy Guide on YouTube. They're also another similar podcast style series that also has a lot of great advice on developing skills such as visualization, amongst others. So if that's what you prefer, then we can suggest checking them out as well. So anyways, on the topic of visualization, which is basically being able to paint a mental image of your Tulpa in your mind and generally project it onto the back of your closed eyes. It's not to be confused with imposition, which is seeing your Tulpa projected onto the real world live in real time in front of your eyes. Visualization is basically when you use your imagination and how you can imagine seeing things, but in the same way as you would take imaginary friend and apply that to a Tulpa and their independence, then ideally you want to be able to visualize your Tulpa in your mental space, in your mental image, but acting independently amongst themselves and whatever it is that you would like to be doing. So I want you to close your eyes right now and imagine the Eiffel Tower. Everybody knows what the Eiffel Tower looks like, I think. It should be a pretty easy mental image to paint on the back of your eyes. Now imagine SpongeBob standing in front of the Eiffel Tower, doing that thing that the people do when they take pictures, where they try and get the Eiffel Tower in between their two fingers. You know what I'm talking about. So that's fairly easy to imagine, right, in your head. And of course it's a static image, but you can pretty easily imagine him standing there with the small movements that would be made by stuff blowing around in the breeze, people walking back and forth, and maybe SpongeBob eventually puts his hand down. And so evidently you're able to craft that mental image. And so by this point that you want to be starting to do visualization of your Tulpa, you should probably already have them be relatively developed, getting independent and getting vocal, and you are familiar with what their form looks like. You know what they want to look like and what you want to see them as, and so you're basically doing the same thing, projecting onto the back of your eyes the form of your Tulpa, and then they start to move around, they start to speak in their voice and act like their personality, and then utilize that skill to be able to visualize them being them and hang out with them in a variety of different backdrops that you are imagining. It may be in your Wonderland, it may be in front of the Eiffel Tower, it may be whatever you imagine it as. So in our experience, a way that worked for us really easy on to start and develop this visualization skill is to be still in a location that is calm, that is quiet or silent, with you alone with your Tulpa, and is a location that you are familiar with, that is static, with nothing moving around, such as in your room that you're probably really familiar with, or in your living room when nobody else is home. And so I would usually do it just laying down in bed. And the idea is that she would be laying next to me. So what I would do is lay in bed in a dark room and take a mental snapshot of what I see. It's my room, so I'm very familiar with it. I know what everything looks like, and so that makes it really easy to just be able to close my eyes and take back in that mental snapshot. I was literally just looking at it a second ago, right? And so close your eyes, take in that mental snapshot, remember where everything is, what the room looks like, move your head around slightly, and again, because it's a location you're so familiar with, you should be able to move that mental image around and imagine what it would look like if you're moving your head in the same way with your eyes open as opposed to if they're closed. So now that you've established that mental background image and you know what your tulpas form and what they should look like laying next to you or sitting next to you if you're sitting upright, then just add that into the mental image. Start to embed them into this backdrop that you're forming in your mind on the back of your eyes. It might not be super clear at first. It might still be kind of fuzzy on top of the background that you are used to being clear because you've seen so much, and that's okay. It can just take a bit of practice, but pretty quickly we were able to get to the point where I was able to quite vividly visualize her just laying there next to me in bed, and then or on the couch if we were doing it in the living room alone together. And then once she was able to be implemented onto this mental image and I was able to see her quite clearly, it was just a matter of her taking over her form that was being laid on top of this mental image. So she had already been independent at this point. She was speaking for herself, and I knew her personality well and kind of how she moved around and carried herself and spoke. So yeah, she was able to just start speaking to me. We would talk to each other, and I would just imagine her laying there talking, moving around slightly, and then developing that from there, getting more used to doing it in other places, in the living room, outside when we're sitting on a picnic table, places like that. And you're not just limited to places that you're able to immediately take a mental snapshot of either. Once you're used to visualizing them, you're able to make the backdrop whatever it is you may want. For many Tulpamancers, this may be in the form of their wonderland that they had developed, or just a place that they like to be, that they like to easily hang out together and not be bound by having to literally be there. For us, we don't really spend a whole lot of time in Wonderland, quote unquote. That may be a smaller episode for the future, but our Wonderland, if you can call it, is a small town in a rural area that is quite a far ways away from here, but that we have spent enough time in to get really used to and really familiar with, and we can imagine it in our head and walking through it and just hanging out in it really easily. And so that's what we will do. We'll sometimes just lay there but want to go hang out in this place, and so just close my eyes, set ourselves into this space in the background, and then just let it take over my imagination, and just us together hanging out, walking around in this town and walking up and down the street, going to have a picnic together, whatever it might be. You just let your mind run wild at that point. You have the flexibility to and the ability to, then may as well make use of it to have some nice, wholesome one-on-one time with your tulpa, whether it is going around in your wonderland or literally just laying there the same as you would in real life, but with them with you. And this has resulted in us laying in bed, just talking and having eyes closed conversations for literally hours and hours into the early morning without even falling asleep, despite my eyes being closed, because it is just really nice to be able to spend time with her intimately, one-on-one, laying there talking about God knows what. And as we've talked about in a previous episode before, that has led to a good number of personal discoveries as well, learning more about her and the differences in the ways we think and the opinions that we have on different topics, and so on and so forth. This is a really nice skill to have that we suggest and recommend that new Tulpamancers try to have with their tulpa, but that's just our experience. As we mentioned in the beginning, this can vary drastically for a lot of people. Perhaps you can go try this right now and it will work immediately for you. However, if it doesn't, then as we mentioned, there are a lot of different guides and resources available that can provide you with some alternative means to try and develop the skill with your tulpa. We are more than happy to help however we can, but of course always keep in mind that the community is as well. The Tulpa community is absolutely incredible and is one of the main reasons that make us want to do this and want to make more wholesome Tulpa content, genuine Tulpa content, is because we both, as me and Max host in Tulpa, as well as the Tulpa community, really do believe in helping others and helping them become better at this inherently positive process. It is going to take time. It's not going to be super easy, but in my opinion, at this point, if your Tulpa has already gained their independence and their voice and their communication skills, you have already passed the hard part of just believing in them and just starting their growth. At this point, it's going to slow down. It's going to take more time to develop the really intricate skills such as visualization and imposition, but you really shouldn't see it as a grind or as a competition to see who can do this the fastest or who can do it the easiest. It's absolutely not that. It's for you and for them, your Tulpa. You should naturally just want to be better for both of yourselves and to develop these skills for the better of your bond and your relationship and your time together. So give them and yourself as much time as you need to, and don't be afraid to ask for help if you need it. Even if we're not here, there are fantastic places where the community gathers, such as on the subreddit at r/tulpas, where you are more than welcome to ask questions and ask for other people's advice on how to develop these skills, such as imposition. Maybe none of the guides or our advice help you to develop it yourself. There are undoubtedly many more people out there with many more even differing experiences, some of which may be very helpful to you, So don't be afraid to ask and interact with the community. We promise that we don't bite. And yeah, hopefully at least this was of some advice or help to you. As we always say, this is a really small channel as part of a really niche community with a really limited reach, but if each one of these videos is able to at least help one person, then that made the video worth making, and it makes us happy to continue to keep making them. That is probably all that we have to say on this topic though, but as always, if you have any questions or need some advice or have suggestions for future episodes, then we're always more than happy to read them down in the comments below. We do read every single one. Hope this was a good listen and that you enjoyed. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you in 2 weeks from now. Take care and happy tulping. Bye bye.